The film starts with a group of men with jokester veils breaking into the bank where the crowd has an enormous piece of their cash reserved. It starts with 5 comedians, each getting a cut of the crown jewels. They recommend that a 6th individual from the pack, nicknamed the Joker, who did the preparation, however passed on the burglary, doesn't merit a cut. As the burglary goes on, the comedians start to kill each other to get a bigger cut, until a school transport crashes through the mass of the bank, killing another jokester. A crowd bank director, who was himself shot with a programmed weapon after he attempted to take out the jokesters with a shotgun, lets the excess comedian know that he doesn't have any idea who he is managing. The comedian bows down and tells the financier, "I accept anything that doesn't kill you, essentially makes you, stranger." Then eliminates his veil to uncover that he personally is the Joker. Joker places a projectile into the broker's mouth and loads up the transport, leaving a rope connected to the pin. The transport pulls out with the bank's all's money and the pin jumps out. It is only a gas explosive. The Joker joins a long queue of school transports, leaving the scene as the police show up. Gotham is then seen around evening time with hoodlums hesitant to perpetrate violations under the careful indication of the bat signal projected onto the mists. We see Lieutenant James Gordon monitoring the bat signal, sitting tight for Batman with Det. Ana Ramirez, who inquires as to whether he's coming. Gordon makes sense of that it is okay on the off chance that he isn't, trusting that he is occupied somewhere else. He gets some information about Ramirez's mother, who's in the emergency clinic. In the meantime, in a parking structure, the Scarecrow, still on the loose subsequent to getting away from Arkham Refuge, is haggling with the Russian crowd individuals, drove by the Chechen, over the offer of a portion of his trepidation prompting drugs. The deal is intruded on when a portion of Gotham's residents dressed as Batman want to be start taking shots at the men. As he gasses one of the phony Batmen with his brain-modifying drugs from his sleeve, the Scarecrow takes note of that they are not the genuine Batman, since Batman could never utilize a firearm. Out of nowhere the Batmobile/Tumbler crashes through a blockade and Scarecrow noticed, "Now we're in business." The Batmobile, pre-modified to dilly-dally and afterward threaten, fires rockets into a close-by office, sending the leftover mobsters running. The genuine Batman shows up on the scene and twists the rifle barrel of one of the want-to-be Batmen prior to taking him out. The Chechen sends his Rottweilers to go after the Batman, and as Batman saves them he takes the canines out in the wake of being gravely nibbled in the arm. The Scarecrow endeavors to escape in a white van, yet Batman bounces onto the van and starts cutting into the side with his gadget called the Mangler. Scarecrow steers into a help which sends Batman to the ground. As Scarecrow moves away down a spiraling way, Batman jumps onto the top of his van, crushing it to an end. He leaves the phony Batman and the Scarecrow alongside a portion of the mobsters integrated up for the police to ultimately gather together. At the point when one of the fakers says he's attempting to help, Batman brutally lets him know he needn't bother with any assistance. Gordon shows up at the bank the Joker held up before with Ramirez, who shows him the Joker's image from a surveillance camera. Batman shows up to examine the scene, taking note of that they have illuminated the medication, the means to make it more straightforward to follow. At the point when Gordon inquires as to whether the Joker is a danger, Batman illuminates him that he can't stress over limited when there is a whole crowd to cut down. The following day, as Bruce Wayne fastens himself up from the canine nibble, Alfred offers his interests, cautioning Bruce to know his cutoff points. He sees Bruce keeping a nearby watch on recently selected lead prosecutor Harvey Dent by means of some PC screens, as Bruce is attempting to conclude whether Scratch can be relied upon. Alfred contemplates whether he is truly keeping an eye on the relationship that Rachel Dawes has created with Harvey Dent. Harvey Dent shows up in court to join Rachel Dawes in arraigning mobster Salvatore Maroni, the supposed new head of the Falcone wrongdoing family. One of Maroni's men accepts all negative consequences in court, and endeavors to shoot Gouge from the testimony box. The weapon doesn't go off and Dent punches the man before he is dragged away to prison. Maroni is in the end liberated, to the consternation of Scratch. Mark meets Lieutenant Gordon, and after a short trade of words, the two of them express their doubt for those that are working in one another's workplaces. Harvey questions Gordon over his association with the Batman and Harvey lets him know he needs to meet him. Gordon demands court orders for 5 banks that are accepted to hold the rest of the hoard's cash. Gouge consents to back Gordon's court orders, shaping a shaky trust with the legit Gordon, who thus hails Mark as Gotham's White Knight while Imprint questions Gordon about one more epithet they had for him when he was at IED, a moniker Gordon professes to have no information on. Lucius Fox holds an executive gathering at Wayne Undertakings, arranging a joint endeavor with Lau, the head of Lau Security Speculations, situated in Hong Kong. After the gathering with Lau, Wayne communicates his reservations with Lucius Fox about Lau's business activity, evidently unlawful in view of their benefits. In the wake of consenting to drop the arrangement, Wayne asks Fox for another suit. He makes sense of that he should be lighter, and quicker, in the event that he runs into any more watchman canines and that he needs to have the option to turn his head. That evening, Harvey eats out with Rachel. Harvey tells Rachel he needed to reserve a spot weeks sooner, and, surprisingly, then expected to practice his impact to get a table at the entirely chic cafe. Bruce and his date, the prima ballet dancer for the Russian Artful Dance, experience Rachel and Harvey. Bruce has them arrange a table so they can feast together, illuminating Harvey that he claims the eatery. From the outset, Bruce appears to be envious and compromised by Harvey, in view of the way that he is dating his own old flame, yet Harvey makes sense of how he upholds crafted by Batman and values his assistance. Bruce shifts his perspective and illuminates Harvey that he plans to toss an enormous asset raiser for him. In the meantime, all of the top horde individuals are having a confidential gathering in an eatery kitchen. In view of their inside sources in the police, they knew that the banks that their cash was reserved in would have been looked. Lau appears to them on a TV screen from his plane coming back to Hong Kong. He illuminates the crowd that all regarding their cash has previously been moved to a solitary secure area, similarly as Lieutenant Gordon and company are looking through the banks, tracking down only the illuminated follow cash. At the point when the Chechen communicates worry over the man with the Jokester Cosmetics taking $68 million from one of their banks, Moroni excuses him as only no one important. The Joker unexpectedly goes in the room, and in the wake of killing an unfriendly crowd parts colleague via a wizardry stunt, plunks down and talks with the horde about how despicable they've become since Batman came around. He lets them know their one arrangement is to kill the Batman, and offers to do as such for around 50% of the horde's cash. He cautions them about Lau, saying he knows a big mouth when he sees one, provoking Lau to switch off his screen. The crowd chuckles, and as one of the mobsters, Frolic, ascends from his seat and undermines the Joker opens his jacket, uncovering projectiles. Romp lets the Joker know that he's putting a cost out on his head. The Joker advises the horde that when they intend to view things somewhat more in a serious way, call him, and presents them with his card, a Joker playing card. What's more, with that, he exits. In any case, not prior to advance notice that Batman will come for Lau. Harvey Gouge, with Gordon, lights the bat signal to meet with Batman, who shows up. As Gouge and Gordon fault each other for the cash's vanishing because of breaks from degenerate officials in different areas of expertise, they make sense of for Batman that they need Lau back, understanding that Batman is under nobody's locale. They need to make him talk, and surrender all the crowd individuals' names. Batman concurs and vanishes. Fox shows Wayne his new suit, and Wayne starts arranging an unrehearsed outing to Hong Kong. Fox will go with him, making it seem to be the main justification for his visit was to drop the exchanges with Lau's organization. Romp is playing pool with a portion of his partners until one of them illuminates him that a gathering regarding criminals have killed the Joker, and has the body. The body is gotten canvassed in a sack, and as Romp is going to pay, the Joker ascends and holds a blade to his face while his men hold weapons to his partners' heads. The Joker recounts how he got his scars from his dad, and afterward kills Romp. He offers the three enduring partners a chance to join his group, however he has just a single opening. He leaves the three with the parts of a messed up, sharp pool stick and no decision except for to battle each other for their lives. In the meantime, Fox shows up in Hong Kong to meet with Lau. He actually looks in his cell phone at the front work area at Lau's structure, as there are no PDAs permitted anywhere nearby. Fox meets with Lau, and advises him regarding Wayne Venture's arrangements to drop talks with his organization. In any case, he covertly keeps one mobile phone in his pocket, which has been adjusted to create a sonar guide of the encompassing region. After leaving the structure, he doesn't get the telephone he dropped off, and he creates the guide of the structure to Bruce Wayne. That evening, the telephone that Fox left at the front work area produces a high recurrence that closes down all power in the structure. Batman crashes in through a window in Lau's office, and after a horrendous battle with a portion of his gatekeepers, snatches Lau and escapes by sending an inflatable join to a link to a plane he has sanctioned flying over Lau's structure. Back in Gotham, Lau is cross-examined by Rachel with Scratch and Gordon looking on. Rachel squeezes him to give them the cash Lau has taken, however Lau won't surrender. After she takes steps to have him moved to the region secure, Lau tells her that he can provide them with the names of the mobsters and their pooled speculations. Mark then, at that point, understands that they will have the influence they need in a RICO instance of trick to connect all of the Horde individuals together. Gordon chooses to keep Lau in his holding cell at the significant case unit building, and Lau consents to help out the police, and give the names of the crowd individuals. Gordon shows up at Maroni's cafe as the police rush in to capture all of the crowd individuals in participation. As all of the Horde individuals that Lau informed the police are gathered together for arraignment, Judge Janet Cirillo finds a Joker card in the pile of conviction papers. Gouge gives a broadcast unrehearsed meeting denying Batman's contribution while offering thanks for the police work in dealing with the Horde individuals. Gouge, Gordon, and Magistrate Loeb meet with the city chairman to let him know that Mark's rash incrimination of the crowd individuals will give the chairman clean roads for a considerable length of time. The city chairman illuminates Gouge that his reckless activities will cut down the full could of Gotham's hidden world and degenerate residents exclusively upon him. When the chairman inquires as to whether Mark is prepared to be the city's objective, the dead body of a Batman want to hang by a noose bangs against the chairman's window, spruced up in a Batman suit, with cosmetics all over like the Joker's, finished with the sides of the mouth cut into a smile, and with a Joker card stuck to him perusing, will the genuine Batman, if it's not too much trouble, stand up? Bruce and Alfred watch on as a videotape is played on the fresh inside about the Joker torturing the want-to-be prior to killing him. He then guarantees that until Batman removes his cover and shows each and every individual who he truly is, individuals will pass on each day. As Harvey imprints asset razor at Wayne's penthouse starts off, Rachel and an apprehensive Scratch show up and blend. Wayne shows up with 3 models by means of helicopter and searches out Harvey, whom he hails and tosses his full help behind, guaranteeing, "I put stock in Harvey Scratch." Minutes after the fact, Rachel meets with Bruce on the gallery, upset that Bruce is making fun at Gouge. However, Bruce tells her that he genuinely has confidence in Harvey and that he could be the White Knight that will permit him to drape up his mantle as Batman so they can be together. Mark goes along with them to say thanks to Bruce and recover Rachel. In the interim, Gordon finds that there are 3 hints of DNA on the Joker card, from Chief Loeb, Harvey imprint, and Judge Cirillo, the appointed authority that is attempting all of the crowd individuals and track down the card among the desk work. Gordon accepts this as a danger on their lives, and starts arrangements to safeguard them. On account of the adjudicator and Magistrate Loeb, be that as it may, this falls flat. The adjudicator's vehicle explodes when the police show up to bring her into defensive care, and Magistrate Loeb passes on from extreme harming from his alcohol bottle before Gordon can prevent him from drinking. Imprint approaches Rachel to request that she wed him, yet she is torn and can't offer him a response. Bruce represses Imprint and secures him in a storeroom while Rachel watches in shock. Bruce lets Rachel know that they, the Joker and his hooligans, have come for Harvey and to remain stowed away from sight. The Joker and his hooligans burst and let the visitors know that they are this evening's diversion. The Joker checks the room, searching out Harvey Imprint when Rachel ventures forward. He snatches her and threatens to use a blade on her, enlightening her an alternate rendition of the story regarding how he got his scars, guaranteeing that his better half was scarred by predatory lenders and that he took a razor to himself to make her grin, yet that she left him over it. Rachel kicks him away and he comes after her adage that he enjoys that little battle in her, when Batman appears and sends him staggering. A battle breaks out between Batman, the Joker, and his thugs, with the Joker and the hooligans beating on Batman pretty well. At the point when Batman acquires the high ground, he sees the Joker holding a weapon at Rachel's head as he hangs her out of a shot-out window. Batman requests he let her go, to which the Joker answers extremely unfortunate selection of words and lets her fall. Batman jumps through the window and recovers her, utilizing his cape to slow their fall as they collide with the top of a vehicle in the city. The Joker obviously evaporates from the scene. The following day, Wayne attempts to sort out what the Joker is later. Alfred relates an account of when he was in Burma with companions endeavoring to invalidate the nearby hoodlums by paying off them with gems. One criminal nonetheless, threw these payoffs away and kept on assaulting the neighborhood caravans. At the point when Bruce appears to be confounded over this conduct, Alfred illuminates him that a few men can't be prevailed upon, they need nothing specifically, that they kill for sport. Alfred sees that they simply need to watch the world consume. As Bruce focuses on the Joker's face on a screen, Batman is seen on the edge of a roof tuning into phone frequencies when he hears a plot against Harvey imprint. Gordon races to the condo with Ramirez and Batman to find two police officers killed, with the last names Harvey and Gouge. Ramirez starts to fault Batman, however Gordon removes her. As Batman eliminates a piece of substantial wall that contains a slug utilized in the homicides in order to find proof, Gordon takes note of that the Joker has left a development duplicate of the upcoming paper demonstrating the demise of the city chairman. At Wayne Endeavors, Fox meets with Wayne's bookkeeper Coleman Reese, who professes to be aware of specific issues with Wayne's financing in innovative work, guaranteeing that Wayne has some kind of government project with cells for the military in progress. He additionally uncovers Fox's plans for the Batmobile/Tumbler. He lets Fox know that he needs $10 million every year until the end of his life to stay quiet about this. Fox grins and says, "Let me get this straight. You imagine that your client, one of the richest and most influential men on the planet, is subtly a vigilante who goes through his evenings pummeling lawbreakers into a bloody mess with his uncovered hands, and your expectation is to coerce this individual? Best of luck." Fox assists Wayne with reproducing the slug taken from the homicide scene and produces a unique finger impression. Fox inquires as to whether he has reassigned the research and development office. Bruce recognizes that he has, asserting he is playing this one near the chest. Wayne follows the slug unique finger impressions proprietor to a condo sitting above the burial service discourses from Magistrate Loeb and takes off on bike. As the service progresses forward with the road underneath, Wayne investigates a room where he accepts the Joker may be, and he finds a few men restricted. They let Wayne know that their firearms and outfits were taken. Wayne reviews optics brought up of a dazed window. The window blind is associated with a clock. As the clock arrives at nothing, the blinds rapidly raise, and the police riflemen situated around the area all shoot that way. Simultaneously, the Joker, who had eliminated his cosmetics and glossed over himself as an individual from the ceremonial group for the function, turns and goes after the city hall leader, yet Lieutenant Gordon makes a plunge the way, having chanced toward the back and falling. Everybody frenzies and runs, yet the police shoot one individual from the ceremonial group in the leg and take him into a truck. Imprint himself moves in the truck, and after reviewing the crook, sees that the ID on his uniform peruses official Rachel Dawes. He calls Rachel and illuminates her that she's been designated, and to arrive at the most secure spot she can, which for her situation is Bruce's penthouse. He tells her he cherishes her, yet there is no response from Rachel. Gordon's family is visited at home, to advise them regarding the demise of Gordon at the memorial service function. Gordon's better half, Barbara, yells out at the vacant sky to Batman that he has brought this madness upon Gotham. Gordon's young child gets a short look at Batman forlornly watching the scene. In the meantime, Batman enters a club and gets Maroni subsequent to beating on his men. He questions Maroni on the Joker's whereabouts, who guarantees that he ought to have held him from a higher area. Batman drops him off the edge, harming his legs, and discovers that Maroni has no clue about where the Joker is. Maroni makes sense of that the Joker has no companions and nobody will surrender him on the grounds that, dissimilar to Batman, he plays by no guidelines. As Gouge is examining the caught supposed ceremonial group part about what he is familiar with the Joker, he is irritated and holds a firearm to his head. He flips his dad's fortunate silver dollar for his life, coming up on heads. As he flips the coin once more, Batman appears and grabs the coin in midair, inquiring as to whether Mark would truly take a risk with a hooligan's life up, to which Gouge replies, "Not precisely." He illuminates Harvey that this lawbreaker, Thomas Schiff, is a neurotic schizophrenic patient from Arkham Refuge and that he will not gain a single thing from him. He likewise lets Harvey know that assuming anybody saw this shameful approach to cross-examining somebody, all that great work that Mark's finished for Gotham would be lost. He advises Harvey to hold a question and answer session the next day, since he needs to involve that chance to hand himself over. As Batman leaves, Harvey shouts at him that he can't surrender. Bruce shows up back in his penthouse to find Rachel pausing. She lets him know that turning himself in won't stop the Joker's deadly frenzy, yet Bruce says he has a guilty conscience as of now. He advises her that she guaranteed him that they would be together if and when he draped up the mantle of Batman. She tells Bruce not to make her his main, expect a typical life, and they share a kiss. She lets Bruce know that assuming that he hands himself over as Batman, that the city won't ever allow them to be together. Back at Wayne's mystery headquarters for Batman, he and Alfred start annihilating all that could attach Lucius Fox or Rachel to Batman. Alfred attempts to work Bruce out of it, requesting that he persevere through these difficult times and permit Batman to settle on the ideal decision that no other person can to ultimately benefit the city. Bruce makes sense of that Batman can't persevere through the obligation regarding blameless people kicking the bucket, particularly where Rachel is concerned. While moving Harvey, the Joker and a few hooligans begin taking out the squad cars in an enormous semi-truck. He takes out a RPG and starts terminating at the protected truck, conveying Scratch. The Tumbler shows up and endeavors to stop the Joker, and is hit by one of the Joker's RPGs. His vehicle takes disastrous harm, and he's compelled to launch. Nonetheless, the discharge in this vehicle is a bicycle, the Batpod, that conveys out the front of the vehicle. Batman pursues down the Joker on his Batpod, and in the wake of terminating a few links at the truck and winding around them through a few light shafts and structures, flips the truck totally finished. The Joker arises with a Smith & Wesson M76 submachine firearm and takes shots at Batman, who speeds towards him on his Batpod, meanwhile shouting at Batman to hit him. Batman respects his own non-deadly code and steers around the Joker, then, at that point, collides with the flipped truck, tumbling to the ground. As the Joker hops on him with a blade, one of the SMAC officials holds a shotgun to the rear of his head, and after eliminating his protective cap and veil, shows that it was Lieutenant Gordon, who faked his demise to safeguard his loved ones. The Joker is pulled away to the MCU. Harvey escapes the truck and into a cruiser, expressing he is set for see a stressed sweetheart. At Gordon's Significant Wrongdoings Unit building, Gordon is elevated to chief by the city chairman. The Joker imparts a cell to a huge man who whines about his inner parts harming. Official Gordon, subsequent to rejoining with his family, gets a call making sense of that Harvey never made it home. He gets back to the jail to investigate the Joker. During the cross-examination, Batman shows up and begins beating on the Joker, attempting to find out where Harvey is. The Joker gets under Batman's skin, letting him know that they are the two oddities and that when individuals of Gotham never again view Batman as a need, they will turn on him. Batman becomes maddened and puts a seat under the entryway and beats the Joker viciously, yet the Joker simply giggles and resistant lets Batman know that there isn't anything he can do to him to hurt him and that he really partakes in the beatings. The Joker savagely uncovers that Harvey, yet Rachel are in discrete areas, both restricted and lashed to explosives that will detonate in a short measure of time. He gives the areas of the two, saying that he has the opportunity to save one of them and that he should go with a decision that will disregard Batman's code of non-deadly means, that one of them will kick the bucket since Batman can't save them both. Batman takes off, let Gordon know that he's pursuing Rachel. Gordon prepares a few men and heads off after Harvey. As Batman and the police are hurrying towards the two detainees, Harvey stirs to hear Rachel's voice. Whoever caught them set up a radio framework with a goal that the two can impart. Harvey lets Rachel know that all will be well, and Rachel advises Harvey that she needs to wed him. While Gouge attempts to move in his seat to track down something sharp to cut his ropes with, he falls over and thumps an oil drum down, and gas spills all over a portion of his face. In the interim, back at the prison, the Joker deceives a cop and keeps him locked down, and he tells different police he simply needs his call. After getting a PDA and dialing a number, the huge man that was in the cell with him explodes. The Joker had cut him open and embedded a PDA set-off gadget within him. The Joker gets low and escapes the prison. Batman shows up at the location that the Joker had let him know Rachel was at, yet when he opens the entryway, he finds Harvey Gouge, all things being equal, who shouts in despair at having been found rather than Rachel. Gordon shows up at the alleged area for Scratch, however the stockroom detonates and Rachel is killed. As Batman saves Imprint via doing him of the stockroom, The blast lights the gas that immersed Scratch's face, horrendously consuming it. Scratch is taken to Gotham General Emergency Clinic. Batman visits Mark in the emergency clinic, and leaves him the two-headed coin that they found at the site where Rachel kicked the bucket. One side of the coin is as yet sparkling, while the opposite side is scratched and consumed. Alfred peruses Rachel's letter. She makes sense of that she will wed Harvey Imprint, and that when she let him know that she would be with him when he never again should be Batman, that she would not joke about this. Notwithstanding, she understands that he will constantly be Batman, so she will continuously be there as his companion. Bruce communicates to Alfred his pulverization behind losing Rachel and that he feels answerable for rousing frenzy and demise. He lets Alfred know that she planned to sit tight for him. Alfred decides not to give him her letter, saying the time isn't correct and that with Harvey Imprint hospitalized, it will ultimately depend on him alone to battle the wrongdoing in Gotham City. In the meantime, Harvey awakens in the medical clinic with a huge gauze over portion of his face, tracks down his currently scarred two-headed coin, and shouts out in pain over losing the one individual he cherished. Chief Gordon visits Scratch and attempts to let him know how sorry he for has unfolded, addressing why Imprint denied skin unions and pain relievers and how he can bear being in persistent desolation over his deformation. Harvey is loaded up with rage for Gordon not paying attention to him when he cautioned Gordon not to believe the bad officials that Scratch researched during his time in inner undertakings, which has brought about Mark's distortion and at last Rachel's demise. Imprint requests Gordon let him know the epithet they had for him when he was in IE, which Gordon humbly answers Harvey Two-Face, while being compelled to gaze at the broad consumes and scarred tissue that cover half of Harvey's face. As Gordon leaves a genuinely crushed Harvey, he runs into Maroni in the corridor, who lets him know that the Joker has gone excessively far and that assuming Gordon needs the jokester, he knows where he will be. Wayne's bookkeeper Reese shows up on a news show professing to have the option to tell the world what Batman's identity is. He lets Gotham know that he will uncover Batman's character, yet before he can, the Joker brings into the show saying that he doesn't believe this legal advisor should demolish his good times. That's what he says: in the event that the legal counselor isn't killed in no less than an hour, he will explode an emergency clinic. This triggers the police to rush in and safeguard the legal advisor, and attempt to convey him to somewhere safe and secure. Simultaneously, other police are clearing every one of the emergency clinics in Gotham City. At the point when they get to Gotham General, a cop endeavors to empty a medical caretaker in Harvey Scratch's room, which then, at that point, ends up being the Joker, and he kills the cop. He then clears up for Two-Face how he really wants to present a little disorder and turmoil, that cutting down every one of the great individuals on the planet and how it's all fair is so natural. Joker unfastens Two-Face and gives him a gun. Two-Face, twisted on retribution and presently accepting all that on the planet ought to be chosen by some coincidence, flips the twofold gun to choose whether or not to shoot Joker, which Joker concurs is quite reasonable. However, we don't see it. The coin clearly arrives on the perfect side, since the following scene shows Joker leaving Gotham General Clinic as it explodes behind the scenes. Subsequently, the Joker shows up on television once more, driving captured GCN columnist Mike Engel to peruse out his arrangements. He peruses that Gotham City currently has a place with a Joker, beginning that very evening. Anybody that would rather not be a piece of his game ought to leave now, however they will struggle with leaving the city by the scaffolds. He suggests the way that something significant planned to happen that very night. During which, Two-Face enters a nearby bar where criminal investigator Warts, the messy cop that had gotten him after the Joker was caught, hangs out. Subsequent to addressing him, he flips the coin, which lands on the filthy side, and he kills Warts. Simultaneously, Batman utilizes Fox's PDA sonar innovation to transform each and every PDA in Gotham into a sonar gadget, offering him the chance to keep an eye on everybody in Gotham. He calls Fox in, and advises him to screen the screens, and give him refreshes on the Joker's area when he sees him. Fox is shocked that Batman would utilize his innovation to keep an eye on the residents of Gotham, and hesitantly consents to help, expressing that the machine should be obliterated after the Joker is caught or he should resign. Batman advises Fox to enter his name into the control center when the mission is finished. Two-Face keeps on addressing crowd individuals, attempting to reveal the personality of the messy cop that seized Rachel. While defying Maroni in Maroni's vehicle, he discovers that the other cop is Ramirez. He then, at that point, flips the coin for Maroney, which lands on the spotless side. "Fortunate man," he comments before he flips it once more. It lands on the grimy side and he locks in and states, "Yet he's not," as he shoots Maroney's driver, making the vehicle wander away from the street and crash into the dockyards. In the interim, two huge ships pass on Gotham because of the Joker's alarming statements. One is occupied by lawbreakers that Harvey and Gordon help set aside, the other is loaded with blameless residents, the city's extensions evidently being set up with explosives. While cruising off, the two boats totally lose all power and their motors pass on. The two ships in the long run understand that there are explosives flung about the boat, and the two of them track down detonators. It is right now that the Joker's voice is heard over the amplifier of the two ships, and he illuminates them that they are part regarding a social examination. The detonator on each boat is for the other boat. One ship should press the button and annihilate the other boat by 12 p.m., or, more than likely the Joker will obliterate the two boats. This achieves a lot of disarray in the two boats, and a great deal of soul looking through about profound quality and about if anybody would really do something like this. Fox finds the Joker, who is stayed in a structure actually being developed with many comedian watches. Batman informs Gordon of the area, and dashes off towards the structure. In the meantime, Two-Face powers a terrified Ramirez to call Gordon's family and advise his significant other and kids to meet her at the specific place where Rachel was killed. They accept her since they trust her. Subsequently, Two-Face, infuriated with Ramirez's request to save her life for her debilitated mother, flips for Ramirez's life. The coin lands on heads, so he simply takes her out, telling her that she lives to battle one more day. As Gordon shows up at the structure where the Joker is, he gets a call from his family letting him know they are being held hostage by Two-Face where Rachel was killed. Gordon surges off to save his family as Batman breaks into the structure. In the wake of understanding that the comedian monitors are the genuine prisoners and the specialists/prisoners are the Joker's thugs, he thumps a smack individuals to keep them from killing the jokester gatekeepers, and he handicaps the hooligans as he advances up to the Joker's area. At the point when he at long last faces the Joker sends the Chechen's Rottweilers after him, and keeping in mind that Batman wards them off, the Joker beats him ruthlessly with a dull metal item, and ultimately tosses him near the edge of the structure, catching him under a metal shaft. Simultaneously, the two boats are as yet discussing how to manage the detonators. On the criminal ship, one of the biggest and meanest looking convicts gives a discourse about the superintendent holding the trigger not knowing how to take life, then goes up to the superintendent and requests to take the trigger so he, at the end of the day, can do what the superintendent ought to have completed 10 minutes prior. The superintendent hands the convict the trigger and the convict quickly tosses it out of the ship, making it inconceivable for anybody on the convict ship to explode the guiltless ship. On the guiltless ship, in the wake of having casted a ballot to utilize their detonator, the authorities can't force themselves to showcase the choice. A man stands up, takes the detonator yet can't press the button. The Joker, on top of Batman while holding him down, gives indications of disillusionment when neither of the ship's travelers will go as far as his level. As he's going to obliterate the two boats, Batman fires his glove darts at him, taking the detonator none of his concern, and tosses him past the brink of the structure. Before he can stir things up around town, notwithstanding, Batman shoots one of his hooking weapon apparatuses at him and recovers him. While balancing before Batman, the Joker lets him know that both of them are bound to battle perpetually, and how Batman truly is morally sound. The Joker uncovers to him, notwithstanding, that his genuine arrangement was to design the fall of Gotham's White Knight, Harvey Gouge, since that would present substantially more disarray when a decent man like Mark is shown plunging into confusion and wickedness. Batman takes off to track down Harvey, while the specialized squad catches the Joker. At 250 52nd Street, Gordon shows up to see Two-Face keeping his family locked down. Two-Face thumps him to the ground and lets him know that he will cause him to experience similarly as he gets his young child Jimmy and plans to flip the coin for his destiny. Batman shows up and advises him to stop, and to fault individuals answerable for Rachel's demise. So then, at that point, Two-Face flips the coin for Batman, which lands on the grimy, scarred side, and Two-Face shoots him. He then, at that point, flips the coin for him and it lands on the perfect side. As he's flipping the coin for Gordon's child, He advises Gordon to deceive the kid and let him know that all that will be okay, similarly as Imprint himself needed to tell Rachel seconds before she was killed. Batman gets up and handles him and they tumble off of the structure together. Inconspicuous by them, the coin lands on the perfect side. Batman hands Jimmy up to Gordon as Batman himself tumbles to the ground close to Two-Face, who lies still. As Gordon descends to beware of Batman, that's what Batman mourns: eventually, the Joker won. By tainting Harvey Mark and turning him evil, he destroyed the best of them. If Gotham somehow happened to learn about Imprint's killings, then, at that point, the image of trust and confidence he had given Gotham would decrease and every one of the detainees he helped set back in prison would be let out, consequently making turmoil. Batman makes sense of that Gotham can never learn about the homicides, and assumes the fault of them on himself, so the Joker wouldn't win and the city's tranquility would remain. We see a montage of Magistrate Gordon and different individuals from the Gotham City Police Division accumulated at a remembrance to Harvey Scratch. It is hazy regardless of whether he was killed. Gordon then crushes the bat signal over the MCU working, while Alfred consumes Rachel's note and Lucius closes down the sonar machine with a satisfied look. Batman, behind the scenes, keeps on making sense of that by assuming the fault of the killings, the confidence that individuals of Gotham had in Harvey Imprint can be compensated, and they can feel legitimized. Batman then, at that point, runs from Gordon as the police pursue him, and Gordon lets his child know that while Harvey Mark was the legend Gotham required, Batman is the legend that Gotham merited. The bat signal is obliterated and a manhunt is given for Batman. Batman moves on his Batpod and dashes away, while Gordon pronounces, "He's a quiet watchman. A careful defender. A dark knight."